All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. This is a leadership coaching experience webinar. We want to say thank you so much for attending today. I'm Erin Hutchins. I'm one of the co-founders of ACT Leadership. Before we get started, we just have a minor housekeeping item. So this is GoToWebinar technology, and you will be muted during this presentation. However, if you would like to ask questions or leave any comments for us, you can do so by using the question box here. So you should have this little box control panel on your screen. So please feel free to write any questions there. Also, please know that at the end of the presentation, we will be doing a Q&A, and we will attempt to get to as many questions as possible at that time. All right. So welcome again. As I just mentioned, I'm Erin Hutchins. I'm one of the co-founders of ACT. I'm a professional certified coach with the ICF. That's the International Coaching Federation. And really where I focus is helping individuals grow and learn in different ways. We help individuals, teams, and organizations essentially enhance relationships and also help them maximize results. I also have with me here today Mike Hutchins, who's another co-founder.
Hi.
And do you want to say a little bit more about yourself and introduce yourself?
Sure. So, yeah, also a professionally certified coach, and originally trained as a CPA and a management consultant, and creating ACT, really focusing on the people aspects of leadership. How can leaders be more coach-like in how they interact with others? So, 20 years of focus on the technical aspects of leading change. Working on large programs and seeing the real need for to really focus on the human dimension as well. And so that's really what ACT is all about. ACT partners and collaborates with Brown University on one of our specific programs, which is leadership and performance coaching. And so if this is something that you're interested in terms of becoming an executive coach or becoming a coach-like leader, we can talk more about that at the end of this webinar.
All right. We also have Katie Johnson, who's on the line with us, who is our program manager, and she's the best person to contact for any more information. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing today on the call. So we're going to start out by giving some context around why. Why is coaching so relevant in today's world? We're going to also look at the benefits to the organization as well as teams and to individuals. And then we're going to get to the exciting part where we're going to give you a live demo of a coaching experience. So I'm going to be working with someone and demonstrating a coaching conversation. So what we'll need for that is we do need a volunteer to be the coachee. So someone who has a topic, and what we mean by topic is an issue that you have. It could be work related or personal related. It could be an issue, a challenge. It could be a goal that you want to reach as a leader. It could be a vision that you want to implement, something that you want help with that is unresolved, that you haven't figured out. So if you are the person who would be willing to volunteer for us, just go ahead and write your name in the comment box, and we will circle back with you in a little bit when we do that demonstration. After we do the demo, what we're going to ask you to do is we're essentially going to do a mini group debrief where we want you to place your attention on is what are you seeing the differences in this type of conversation, in a coaching conversation, versus some of the other conversations you may have had, in the workplace or working with employees, or whether you're in a consulting capacity, but just how is this conversation different? So we're going to do a group debrief, and then we're going to go to Q&A. All right, so let's start and talk about the why. Why is coaching such a hot topic right now?
So let's start with the big picture and look at some of the challenges that we see leaders facing in the current climate. So much of this you will be familiar with. The millennial population, a lot of leaders that we speak to and interview, what they say is they haven't really figured out what's the best way to lead and engage the millennial population, the next generation, and what's the best way to maximize and unlock their potential. We also hear a lot around complexity, a lot around remote working. And again, a lot of leaders and managers are challenged by what's the best way to communicate with people that, we don't see face to face every day. And an outcome of all of this is, those of you that see the Gallup survey, we see that in North America, around 70% of workers are not engaged at work. And, they estimate that the cost of productivity around that is around $450 to $550 billion. So clearly that's a big issue. And we see that coaching as a core competency of leadership is one way to really improve that, by being able to improve motivation, improve employee engagement.
So let's talk about some of the benefits of being a coach-like leader. So the benefits to the team and organization. One of the things through our experience that we're really finding is expanding people's capacity to critically think on their own. So really being able to help individuals find their own solutions, find their own answers. So then what happens when we do that is it decreases the dependency of going to your boss or going to other people to constantly search for the answer. So what coaching does is it expands your critical thinking skills and also looks at different ways of essentially coming up with a solution. So expanding perspectives, expanding different ways of seeing things. We're also looking at one of the things that we know too is that it increases employee retention, because what coaching does is it focuses on individuals. It focuses on how do we really bring out the best in this person? How do we grow them? How do we look at where do they want to go in 5 or 10 years? So when you take the time to place attention on employees or individuals or whomever you're working with, we really see that people feel more likely to connect, to collaborate, to really optimize how they're able to achieve results. Anything else on this slide here?
I think that's good. So the benefits to you. So being a coach-like leader or having the coaching skills and the coaching mindset. First of all, we see that it gives you more range. So it increases your ability to be agile and being able to flex your style to any given situation. So, through our education systems, we're generally pretty good at problem solving. We're generally pretty good at giving advice and mentoring. And where we see that there is often a blind spot with leaders is their ability to really hold curiosity, to be able to stay curious with their workforce, to stay open to different ideas and be more coach-like in how they interact, how they can listen better for, the emotions, how they can listen for some underlying assumptions, maybe some self-limiting beliefs that are not being expressed, and really work with the employees to understand how does that self-limiting belief impact your performance. So leaders become more self-aware of how they show up. It improves their emotional intelligence. They become more aware of their impact, their own blind spots, and helps them make better choices at work. In terms of their questioning, there is a tendency, again, that we notice for people to have that problem-solving mindset, to ask the loaded or leading questions, often closed questions, that are leading to an outcome that they want them to go to. And so, again, in a coach approach, it's being able to use a more diverse set of questions, more open-ended what or how questions, where questions, to really elicit in the employee discovery, right? So they can understand more about themselves and ultimately be better problem solvers, be better at critical thinking and less dependent on their boss. We also see, there's a broader perspective. So in meetings, again, the arc of a conversation, we notice that things get shut down with what are we going to do? And that gets asked in the first few minutes of a meeting. And, the coach-like leader is able to hold open different possibilities. They can stay in curiosity and they create safety and trust for people to really share what's going on, ultimately leading to a better performance and better results.
All right. So we wanted to be able to give you all a coaching experience. So instead of us talking about it, actually have you observe it and see it in action. So we're getting to the part now in the presentation where I'm going to do a coaching demo with somebody on the call. And essentially what we want you to look for is, and to look out for in this conversation is what are you seeing as the main differences between this style of conversation, a coaching conversation, and some of the other conversations that you've had, whether it might be a problem-solving conversation, a mentoring conversation, whether you're giving advice. So look out for some of the differences that you see in this particular conversation. We have some coaching skills here that we've listed. These are we've just given you a sample here of skills that we use in our program. And so look out for any of these skills that you might see me using.
And specifically, when you're listening to this demo, can think about like, where is Erin's focus in this conversation? And then what are some of the skills, we've given you 8 coaching skills there. Which skills do you see Erin using, and what is the impact that this is having on the person that's being coached, the coachee?
Okay, so we need to find that person now. So I'm just going to the questions box here to see who has volunteered. Okay, looks like Cassandra. Looks like Cassandra, you were the first person that raised your hand, and thank you, because I know you may not realize what you're walking into, so thank you for volunteering. If you could practice unmuting yourself here, and I think you just hit the microphone, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, great. Thank you. Thank you for volunteering. Okay.
Of course.
So Cassandra, we're going to do a mini coaching demo. This should be, 10-minute demo just to demonstrate the differences between these types of conversations. So do you have a topic or challenge or something that we can work with that's unresolved for you?
I do.
Okay. Do you want to, and actually before we go in there, I do want to say just a little bit about yourself and how you came to this call.
Sure. So my name is Cassandra. I work for a small government agency in McLean, Virginia, the Farm Credit Administration. I work as the training officer, and we're about, 300 people based in McLean, and we have 4 field sites. So we have offices kind of all over the country. And my challenge is actually not with my job, but it's actually a personal issue. So I work part-time, and I currently am raising 2 little girls. And so my challenge is I love my job and I love parenting, and I'm able to split my time between the 2, but I find myself with no personal time. So yeah. I end up, at the end of the week, I've put half my time into work, half my time into parenting, and then I'm left with, just no time for myself. So
it sounds like, being a parent and also, being working at the same time, it sounds like being able to juggle both, sometimes the impact that has on you is that it leaves no time for you.
Yes, exactly.
And what else? How else does it impact you currently right now?
I would say, I guess it leaves me, just not having time for myself. I'm not able to do things that I normally love to do, which is, for example, like going out for a run, or, going to get a pedicure, something as simple as that, or even just reading at night because I'm struggling to finish up that last email or put the kids to bed. So I'm just constantly trying to push as much as I can into the kids and work. And then it leaves me kind of without any time at the end of the day for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. It's like I hear that even in your voice, like this yearning for more time, and it sounds like, again, the kids are really important to you, and your work life's really important too. So it's like, how do we make time for you in this equation? So let's look at a year from now. let's see, what are we? We're in July 2018. Let's fast forward a year from now and look at July 2019. So if we were to look at a year from now, how do you want to be talking about your work-life balance? Like, or how do you want to be talking about the time that you have with yourself a year from now?
I guess I'd like to be at a point where I feel that I'm balancing the time better. So, I have plenty of time for work and to give that 100%, and I have plenty of time for the kids and give that 100%. And I think I'll always put myself on the back burner, but if we could at least get to a point where I'm feeling a little bit more happy with where I am, and I feel like I'm giving myself the attention that I need in order to, do the job that I have and take care of the kids. So,
Yeah. So let's for a second, let's put yourself in the front for a minute. When you put yourself in the front or first, let's just say, what do you know? What do you experience when you think about putting yourself first?
Oh, good question. I guess if I put myself first, I would say, I guess I have time to do the things that I love, like, you know, going out and doing those things for myself, like, reading or running and shopping even, things like that. So I would be spending more time doing some of those things. And yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah, it's like you have some values in here. Like, I've heard you say running a couple times now, or me time, right? Reading, running, or pedicure, or shopping, whatever it might be. It sounds like me time, and it sounds like
Mhm.
that's a value of yours.
Yes,
So
exactly.
if you were to rate that value right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how much are you fulfilling that value of me time?
Probably say a 4 or 5.
Okay, so what would it look like if we were to go to an 8? 8 means that you're fulfilling that value of your time. What would that look like?
I guess it would be me able to do some of those things. I guess another part of this would be if I do spend time on myself, I'm feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
If I'm not giving 100% to work and 100% to the kids, and I am spending time on on something I love, I feel guilty while I'm doing it. And so maybe having an 8 would be doing the things I love, but feeling comfortable with doing them and not feeling guilty because I'm not giving the time to work or I'm not giving the time to the kids. So
Yeah, it's like I'm hearing like at a 3 or 4, it might be that guilt might be driving your decision. It could be driving your decision whether you want to spend me time or not. But it sounds like when you're at an 8, it sounds like you're comfortable with me time and not feeling that or not operating from that place of guilt.
yes, exactly.
So in order to stay at an 8, what is it that you would need to believe about me time? What do you need to believe about it?
Believe that it's okay. That it's okay to hire a babysitter for a couple hours and be able to go out and do something for myself. And I think if I could get to that point and not feel guilty and not, be able to realize that it's okay to spend the time on myself, that would be ultimately, the goal would be to get to that point. So,
Yeah, okay. So it sounds like at an 8 you would need to believe that it's okay to actually to do this.
right.
What would it look like to set the guilt aside and like let's just pretend like the guilt's in front of us and we just set it aside. Let's imagine that we're just setting it aside. What's available to you now when the guilt is not so present?
Um, I would say, maybe just not thinking so much or not worrying about the guilt, so it wouldn't be there. So I guess I would think of, oh, I'll just hire that sitter for a couple hours so I can go out and go to the gym and get a pedicure or, yeah, I guess it would make it easier to take the next step in order to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I
So
wouldn't have that guilt. So
yeah, I'm hearing that it'd be easier for you, and I'm wondering what would it be like for you to get to the point where it would feel natural? What would it take for you to get to that point for it to feel natural, where you could do that?
um, probably doing it more. So it becomes more of a part of the way, the way it is, and taking a step back and saying, I gave work 100%, I gave the kids 100%, so I'm going to give myself a break, and I'm not going to worry about the guilt. I'm not going to worry about, being away from work or being away from the kids. I'm not going to be guilty. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And maybe the more I take those steps, the easier it would probably get.
Okay, so it
So,
sounds like what I'm hearing is like actually putting this into action, right? Like practicing being able to honor this value of self-care without
right.
feeling guilty. So what is the when you actually put this into action, what's the reminder that you want to tell yourself?
I would say that, I guess, telling myself that it's not, by doing those things for myself, I guess I'm able to be a better parent and able to do, better at work, because I'm not pushing, um, pushing the self-care aside. It's not like I'm putting that on the back burner. So I'd like to think of it as it's helping me, in order to be a better parent and able to, work, harder. Or I feel better at the end of the weekend because I got that 2 hours of me time.
Yes,
So I'm going into Monday with a better mentality.
exactly. It's like it sounds like it's like what I just heard you say is that there's room for all. There's room for me to be give 100% at work. It's room for me to be give 100% at home or with my kids, and there's room for me to give 100% to me. So that you actually this mindset of actually I can give 100% to all to each area, each of these values that are important to me,
Right.
versus I have to prioritize them or put them in order of importance.
Yes, actually. And that may, yeah, exactly. Because it's easy to, I think it's easy maybe for a lot of people to put themselves in the back burner and put other things forward. But if you look at them all equal, it makes that, the ultimate goal a lot easier to achieve, because, they all, just a good balance, and, looking at them equally really would help.
So by looking at them equally, what is one thing that you're going to commit to doing differently that you've done before? But when you look at the lens of looking at them equally, what's one thing you can commit to now?
Um, I think I would, I guess, just do something for myself without feeling guilty about it, and not worry about it, and just go ahead and do it, so that it's, makes me feel better and helps me to, do other things in my life better too.
Great. And when will you do that?
Today.
Okay. And how will I know that you've done that thing? Like, and I'm conscious that you probably don't have my contact information, but at the end of the slide, there's Katie's contact information. I'm wondering maybe if you could email her or get to me. But I'm wondering, would you follow up with me and let me know the thing that you did for yourself today and how that felt and the impact that had on you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think that's actually one thing that, I know for myself. I'm sure for others also, having, someone holding you accountable definitely helps. So I think, I will do it, because I know that I'll have to reach back out and tell you guys that I did.
All right, thank you. And first of all, I want to actually acknowledge that this is a really common leadership topic, work-life balance and how do I make time for me and self-care. So thank you for opening up about your situation and being our demo client here. Thank you for
Of course,
thank
thank you.
you for your time today. All right. And actually, we're going to now, so thank you, Cassandra. We're going to now take a little bit of time. This coaching demo is ended. We're going to take a little bit of time because we're curious to know from you all too, and you're welcome to write in the questions box here. What did you see as some of the differences between this type of conversation and other conversations that you that you might be having at work or with individuals you're working with. Let's just have a look here. There we go.
So one of the comments, Erin's focus was more on Cassandra. So that's one of the key things in a coaching conversation, is that your focus as coach or the coach-like leader is really on the other person, as opposed to getting sucked into the topic. So if you think for a moment, what's the potential risk if you start getting sucked into talking about work-life balance, right? There's the risk that you may start becoming self-referential and start saying, well, in my opinion, or this is what worked for me, without really allowing Cassandra or the coachee to have their own experience.
Okay, we've got another comment here. It seems like, guys, when I click on these, when I click on something, I'm going out. So here we go. Okay, the student came up with their own solutions. You did not tell them what to do. Right, so exactly, it's like our job as a coach is to help people find their own solutions and find their own answers, and look at how can we really elicit the resourcefulness inside of that person. And it's like, why do we want to do that? Why do we want people to come up with their own solutions? Because we want people to make their own connections where the light bulb goes off in their head, right? So they can own their solution and ultimately own and be responsible for the choices that they're making. Great, we hear a few more. Solution is generated from other person, not me as a coach. Yes. Erin got Cassandra to find the problem and figure out her own solution. Yeah, we just talked about that. So a lot of there's a lot of common threads here. So let's just show this next part here. You know, we talk about where is the coach's focus here. So this diagram that we have up on the screen here. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So in this style of conversation, in a coach-like conversation, the coach really has a strong focus on the relationship with the coachee or the other person. So you'll see there's a dotted line, awareness of topic. So of course, the coach needs to know what the topic is. But the coach is more focused, and Erin is more focused on what is, in this case, Cassandra's relationship to the topic. You know, how much of a big deal is this to her? What are some of the, how emotionally charged is this topic? How is she seeing this topic right now? What are the maybe self-limiting beliefs that she has around this? You know, in this case, there was, you know, a degree of guilt around this, which is preventing her from being 100% focused, right, on her different aspects of her life.
So we're just going to show you, we're going to go to the next slide, because this is typically what we see in a typical employee interaction or in conversations. So what we know, it's our natural tendency as humans to want to default into giving advice or problem solving, right? It's like we're so wired up that way. And actually neuroscience tells us that we're wired up that way. You know, so it's so easy in conversations to say, well, have you tried this? Have you thought about doing this? What options do you have? And if you look at this diagram here, what this essentially is showing is that, you know, traditionally we see that the leader and the employee, or the two individuals in the conversations, are focused on the topic, right? They're focused on trying to fix something or solve it, or be able to look for more information in order to solve a problem.
So the impact when the leader is focused and gets sucked into the topic, you know, what's the impact there? And we're looking at this through two lenses, one on relationships and one on results. And we're always looking at this duality of, you know, how does that leader is able to achieve results and also stay in relationship. And so in this sample where if the leader is focused on the topic, you know, the problem may get solved in this situation, right? The results may be achieved. However, what also may happen is there's a dependency that is created between that employee and the leader. So next time there is an issue, the employee they haven't developed their own critical thinking, their own ability to solve problems for themselves. So it's almost the idea of, you know, teach a man or teach a woman to fish. They are still dependent on that leader. So really being coach-like enables that employee to think for themselves, as Erin said, to have the light bulb go off in their heads.
And with the example with Cassandra, when I was working with her, it was really that, you know, in our program we talk about the coaching mindsets, and we won't go into details here, but it's like when you're in a coach-like mindset, you're really looking at the person as they are resourceful enough to come up with their own solutions, right? They're the expert in their life, right? So if they're the expert in their life, you're really just partnering with them to ask questions and listen differently to help them find their own solutions. Like in the case with Cassandra, it's like she has to own her solution, right? She has to own it so she'll actually take action on it. If she doesn't own it, and if I own it because I'm giving her advice or telling her what to do, then then that's more about me, right? Versus actually putting the onus on her and holding her accountable to doing that.
So there's more ownership, there's more accountability, and ultimately more engagement. And so tying this back to the earlier slide and the 70% that are disengaged in the workforce, what we see when we look down at the bottom here with relationships is, employee development, employee engagement, creativity and innovation and sustainability is improved when we have these styles of conversation.
Yeah. So again, as Mike said, we're always looking through the lens of relationship and results. Okay, so let's just talk about a coaching definition. This is the definition from the ICF, which is one of the main coaching bodies, governing bodies. Okay, and so we've talked about this a little bit, but essentially what coaching is it's partnering with individuals, and here we say in a thought-provoking way, and in a creative way that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. And the other important piece here is that we're honoring that they're the expert in his or her life, and work, right? And that every person that we're working with is resourceful, is creative, and they're whole. So they have the ability to come up with their own solutions. And a lot of times it's because they can't see it for themselves. So the coach's job is to really expand perspectives, expand different ways of looking at things, helping people become more aware of their values, aware of their choices, so they can make those conscious choices that ultimately lead to, better decision making. And we see this time and time and again in different types of situations. So this is how we're really this is how we define coaching at ACT, and this is how we train, is really to look through this lens of helping you really get into this coach mindset. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's see what else we have. So this is a little bit about our program. This is our program overview. So as Mike mentioned earlier on this call, our program is called Leadership and Performance Coaching. And so you might have heard many different titles to different coaching programs that are out there. And we really focus on leadership and performance. So essentially, the program that we are delivering is contextualized to working with leaders and helping them increase and maximize performance. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what the program is. And if you have any specific program questions, you can put them in the comment box or the question box, and we can also set up a one-on-one time to talk through your any questions that you have. Essentially, it's a 6-month program, and there's 3 in-person modules. And in between the in-person modules, there's group calls. You're in a cohort experience, so you'll be with other individuals, up to 30 people. There's also individual calls where we give you feedback on your coaching. So there is a program coming up in the fall at Brown University, and if you would like more details on that program, you can certainly go to our website, actleader.com, or also set up a call with Katie, who is our program manager. The program is really, just one more thing I want to say about the program is really catered to folks that have experience working with organizations. So either you're inside an organization and you want to expand your range as a leader, or you want to learn how to become more coach-like, or you're going to be doing internal coaching. It's also for consultants that are working with organizations or working with leaders and in different capacities. It's also for HR professionals. So that's where we target our program, is essentially being able to work. We target at helping leaders grow and develop, and really giving them, helping expand their range as a leader. Okay, let's see, what time is it here? All right, so we have a few more minutes before we finish up here. We just want to take the time to answer any questions that you might have regarding why coaching, the benefits of coaching, or anything specifically from the demo that you saw, or about our program. So please feel free to write your questions in the comment or question box. Okay, let's see. Okay, we have a question. How can you take this work when an employee you are working with is negative and passive aggressive? So in the program, we provide you with some tools around how do you work with resistance, specifically in a coaching context. So we're looking at how do we give you tools to work with resistance, and a lot of times these are through the coaching skills that we're going to be giving you to sort of meet them where they are, so you can help uncover what may be an underlying pattern or a belief that they might be holding that's getting them stuck or getting them into that state. So I think that one way I can answer that right now is that in coaching, we're always looking for what's going on underneath, right? Because a lot of times we're trying to fix a problem that's most likely a symptom, and in coaching, we're looking at what's going on underneath, so we can then look at how can we affect behavioral change in a different way, in a more transformative manner.
Yeah, and also often, we find that, we have the supposition that people come to work to do a good job, right? They come to work with good intent. And often what happens is when they get to work, there are the challenges that they face causes blind spots for them. And so, they may not be aware of their impact. And so what coaching does is help uncover potential impacts that they're not aware of, in terms of how they show up as an employee, as a manager, the impact they're having on others. So what coaching does is help them see how they're showing up, and hopefully how they will make different, better choices that lead to more effectiveness.
Okay. Oh, I love this comment here. We have, give someone a fish they eat for a day, teach them to fish they eat for a lifetime. Right on, we're with you. Okay, do you offer coaching that require less than a 6-month commitment, possibly a workshop series or conference? Yes, we do offer programs, more specifically with organizations, where we offer a leader as coach program, where we're giving leaders a shorter program to be more coach-like. So yes, we do offer shorter versions, but they are not certification programs. And if you'd like more information, please contact us. We'd be happy to talk to you about that. Okay, would you give a sense of the amount of work outside the 9-day meetings for those of us who work for full time? Yeah, great question. During the 6 months, it's totally possible to do this while you're working. Actually, when I went through my certification, I did the same thing. You are required to get 24 hours of practice coaching hours with us. So during that time, you will need to look for either people that you're working with, or that you can have formal coaching conversations with, to work towards those 24 hours in a 6-month period. We also have some reading assignments in between the modules, and there's practice time that you'll be working with your cohort members. And the feedback that we've received on the program is it's very manageable, particularly when working full time. Can you talk more about ICF certification? Is your program aligned and therefore certifies participants upon completion? So our program is ICF approved. So yes, so our program, after you finish our program, if you would then want to become accredited with the ICF, you would then apply through the International Coaching Federation, and you go to their website and just check the box that you've attended our program, and then you would need to meet their requirements, additional requirements. You need to do 100 hours of coaching practice and also take a knowledge assessment, online knowledge assessment exam. And you can find out more about it on the ICF website. But yes, our program is approved by ICF. Okay, let's see what other questions are there. Okay, what makes us different than other coaching companies? So I don't know if you want to answer this, but I think what makes us different is that we really focus on, our program is contextualized to leadership and performance. So we're looking through the lens of how do we really look at specifically challenges that leaders have and help them, give them new perspectives, help them become more aware so that they are honoring their values, that they can really fully maximize their potential and effectiveness. And so we're looking through the lens of how does that impact relationship and results. So the program is about, the main objective of the program is to help train you as a coach, and then also for you to become more coach-like as a leader in any work context or even life context that you're operating in.
So a significant portion of the program is looking at application. So really it's contextualizing, how could I apply these coach-like skills in different contexts? So how could I be coach-like in a feedback conversation? How could I be coach-like when I'm having a difficult conversation with somebody? How can I use coach-like skills when I'm giving a formal presentation? Facilitation, how can I be a good team coach? Those sorts of things. And so everything that we do is underpinned by, leadership effectiveness research. So the model that we use, the compass that we use, really is based around neuroscience and looking at, how do leaders become more effective? That's really, everything is contextualized around leadership and performance.
Okay, so first of all, we'd like to thank you for your time today and attending this leadership coaching experience with us. We would really love to hear from all of you. If you have any additional questions about our program or how coaching might be relevant to you, so we would love to hear from you. Our contact information is here. It's best to reach out to Katie Johnson, and then our website is here. If you go to actleader.com/coach, all of the details of our certification program is on there. Also, special thanks to Cassandra for being our client today. Thank you so much for being willing to volunteer in front of a big audience.
Yeah, and leave you with a challenge. So, if you go back to work this afternoon, maybe you have a team meeting or a one-on-one with somebody, and based on what you've heard on this call, the skills that we've given you, the demo that Erin did, just think for a moment, like, how might I approach this conversation differently? What is the mindset that I want to go into in this conversation to elicit a different outcome?
For those of you that are interested, we will be sending, there will be a recorded presentation that will be sent out. I know there was a question that came up on that. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.